Ten Network. Welcome back inside our Big Ten Network studio. Rick Pizzo, thrilled to be joined by first-year UCLA head coach Matt Werle. Matt, welcome into the studio. Welcome to the Big Ten. I know this is always a crazy time for any coach to get ready for the start of the year. You're doing it at a new program. How nuts is life right now?
It's nuts, but we just try to do it with some sort of grace. You know, we're missing day one, in our practice gym, but happy to be here with these athletes, happy to be a part of the Big Ten, really just excited for what's ahead.
As you get set to start 2026 in your first year in Westwood, over the course of the next 3.5 to 4 weeks, and it's hard to believe that's how quickly the season will get started. What boxes are most important for you and your staff to still check off?
Yeah, ultimately we just have so many new faces along with the staff. So our roster, just demographic, has changed drastically, in the last 4 months, just with some transfers. Obviously the new hiring, that one being probably the biggest piece. But ultimately we just got to get everybody on the same page. So getting everyone to understand, what our philosophies are, what our standards are, creating some boundaries within those standards, and making sure that we're just kind of taking baby steps forward for the next 4 weeks for, that first match.
Matt, we'll dive into your roster and get some comments on the two young women that are here representing UCLA. I'm curious, though, for you at first, after spending almost all of your coaching career on the men's side, you joined Matt Ulmer, former Oregon coach at Kansas last year, and then transitioned into this job this year. Why the change for you?
It was an easy change. It was an easy change to go join Matt at Kansas. He and I actually played against each other in college. So long story short, I've known Matt for a long time. I know what he stands for. I know the type of coach he is. I know he's a little bit different than me too. So the transition from Grand Canyon University as a head coach to go, be a part of the Kansas staff was a no-brainer for me. Surrounding myself with good people, but also ultimately the trajectory of women's volleyball and women's sports right now, that was the easy change for me. I wanted to be a part of something that's just fast growing, but ultimately something I could just be really proud of. And I feel like this is something I'm really proud of.
And you should certainly be proud of what you accomplished at Grand Canyon, leading that program to heights it had never seen before. What lessons are the same, whether it is men's volleyball or women's volleyball? Stylistically, it can be different, but what remains the same regardless of whether you're coaching men or women?
I think my values have to remain the same. I'm coaching volleyball, but I'm coaching these young women. I'm coaching young men versus young women. I would say the maturity level of the women is definitely, it's better. It's been easier. There's a little bit more job security, probably coaching collegiate female athletes than males. But ultimately, the transition from men to women hasn't been the big one. It's just ultimately just learning the new platforms and getting to know the administration and getting to know the personnel, on UCLA's campus. I think ultimately I'm coaching these young women to just be the best people they can be, and then also just coach some volleyball along the way.
What did you learn last year as Matt's associate in Kansas that you hope to apply to the head job this year?
Sure. Matt is a very technical coach. On the men's side, you don't have the freedoms to be as technically, sound. You just have to read and react. Obviously, the physicality of the men's sports is really transitioning over to the women's side of the sport too, just with the net play and all the, the verticality, the physicality, everything that he taught, I think on the ground defensive side and reading the game on the women's side of the sport is a little bit different. So, just kind of being a sponge and taking as much of the information from Coach Ulmer that I could, and then, kind of fine-tuning my own style moving forward.
Over the course of the last 3 or 4 years, when I've had the opportunity to sit down with coaches who are taking over a program for the first year, they'll say the most important thing is to find the players on the team that can be my voice when I'm not there. The leaders on the floor. I think you brought 2 of them today with you, and Lola Schumacher and Maggie Lee. Let's start with Lola and what she provides for you both on the floor and what you think she'll provide for this team in the locker room.
Yeah, on the floor, I think if you've watched Lola play, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get a tough and fierce competitor, somebody that's extremely passionate, jumping over chairs and benches in her pursuit plays, but ultimately what you see on the floor is her leadership, her celebration, of her teammates. That also actually does translate fully off the court too. I mean, she always is providing energy. She's always providing something really positive to our program. She welcomed me with open arms, which I think is great. And she's the middleman. She's the middleman between the staff, and our players. So we are in constant communication with one another. And what she's provided to me has been very, very special. And her support has meant so much to me.
As for Maggie, what do you see her role being in 2026?
Maggie is going to be a force. Freeing her mind up on the court to just go be Maggie and watching her go terminate balls and, finding a way to, get Maggie to understand like, hey, don't worry about what just happened and let's move on from the next one and go crack that next ball, because when you start to get under Maggie's skin and you get her a little bit angry, she's going to really, really raise it up another notch.
I know you can only bring 2 players. Any others on this roster that you feel like you'll rely on, whether it be in terms of production or in terms of understanding, in terms of that intermediary role?
Yeah, I think at this point we're going to rely on all 18. I think we need all 18 to get on board. We need all 18 to be supportive of what we're trying to change and what we're trying to accomplish. So we need everybody kind of pulling the boat in the same direction. So I'm top to bottom. You can be a leader if you're 18, or you can be a leader if you're 1. So we need the whole roster to kind of be pulling in that same direction.
Not much time to waste when you look at the start of the season, because in the non-conference, in this league, as it has been elevated, whether it be the Big Ten SEC Challenge or other non-conference games, that coaches say will certainly get you ready for Big Ten play. That'll certainly help your RPI, sure, but it also means that you need to be on point from day one. How important for you, especially in year 1, is to get on the right foot?
Yeah, we're going to try to get on the right foot in the practice gym. And I think that's ultimately what this comes down to. But I would not choose any other conference. I want to be in the biggest and the best conference out there, and I want to compete against the best teams. So I think we try to just devise a schedule that puts us in the best position to succeed come December.
I love looking at the home and away splits for your schedule, because your home fans are going to have some unbelievable matches to come watch, whether it's Oregon, Penn State, crosstown rival USC, Wisconsin, all coming to your gym this year.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to hosting. It's fun to be on the road a little bit too. I was exposed to some of these Big Ten schools last year, so there's some gyms that I'm excited to go back into and try to get some redemption from. But definitely hosting those teams, in Pauley Pavilion is going to be really special. And then capping off the year with SC, there's no better way to do it. Yeah,
go to Purdue and Nebraska, a couple of gyms that are always fun, I guess, is one way to say it. Challenging can be another way to say it when you are the road team. This is the first year for you. It's also the first year that the Big Ten has instituted a volleyball conference tournament at the end of the year. Curious, as the new kid on the block, if I can, to get your thoughts on that.
I think it's great. Anything to get, volleyball on a bigger stage, I think is important for the growth of our sport. And, just showcasing who these athletes are as people, and obviously the national television, and, putting things out there for the public eye to see of what they truly stand for and who the athletes are within our community. I think it's really special.
Talk about national television, and you spoke earlier about the popularity and the trajectory that women's college volleyball is on. We look in the non-conference this year, and not only some of those conference v. conference matchups, we have the under the lights, the spike under the lights, $1 million to the winner. Right down the field here, down the street here at Wrigley Field, we have a couple of games being nationally televised. From the outsider's perspective, I guess, semi-outsiders, when you were coaching men's volleyball at Grand Canyon, could you have envisioned women's college volleyball getting to this level of popularity and exposure?
I think about 5 years ago, it's hard to predict anything like that. I'm more of a take one day at a time kind of guy, but I just wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to be a part of what this is all about. I think the minds within both the men's and the women's side of the sport, I think the minds are just collaborative enough to try to just continue to grow our sport, and I think it's fun to be a part of this. The Big Ten's doing it right, so I could not be more gracious for what the Big Ten's doing. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to just getting rolling.
Lastly, you come in during an era that has been described as having more change in the last 3 years than in the history of college sports before that 3-year period. And of course, we're referring to the transfer portal and to NIL. Who are you relying on to help you navigate all those avenues as you also get settled into the actual job of trying to help your team win volleyball matches?
Yeah, I think that as head coaches, I think we're all relying on each other. I think what UCLA has provided for me is just such an amazing support system. I didn't know what I was going to step into. I've spent a lot of times in Pauley Pavilion as an opponent. It's nice to be representing the Blue and Blue, but I will say the administration has been nothing but just understanding of my change, my transition, but also, hey, coach, what do you need? And the fact that they're just willing to kind of stick an arm or a hand out there to just help and support me as I guide this transition, they've been nothing but just supportive. And like I said, UCLA is a special place.
Well, I'm sure you've learned, the standards when you're, on the same athletic campus as Corey Close, national champion, water polo, beach. I mean, we're talking about all sorts of sports winning national championships in Westwood.
Yeah, and my wife asked me that question. She's like, does that scare you? I said, no, that excites me. Yeah. I want to raise the level of, UCLA volleyball back to where it was. And I think we're all going to do it together. And surrounding myself with those coaches and those athletes and just the excellence that's on our campus, I mean, it's only just going to boost. And, it's just, I'm just proud. I think proud is the best word to put it.
Well, Matt, welcome to the Big Ten. Wish you nothing but luck in 2026.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, some of those athletes that Coach Werle just talking about will join us next. Lola Schumacher, Maggie Lee, they've made their way from the boat through our green